everybody, Heidi Lee here. Welcome to another episode of So I Married a Record Collector. We haven't done this in a really long time. I really don't have any super good excuses except for just life and stuff. But we do want to try to make a point of doing these on a more regular cadence. And one of the things that I think might help a little bit is kind of shortening the videos a little bit by doing 5 records per release. We did get some constructive feedback about our videos maybe being a little bit too long. And some people like long videos though too. So to sort of end up somewhere in a happy medium, we're going to go ahead and just do 5 records per video. That gives me about 10, 11, 12 little clips that I need to edit together. And that's a lot better than 22. I work most days, Monday through Friday, staring at the computer all day long. So sometimes when I have free time to do this kind of thing, even when it's something fun that I enjoy doing, I literally cannot stare at a computer any longer. So I think doing it this way will help me to get these videos out quicker and at a more regular pace than we have been in the past. Anyway, glad to be back. Going to say hello to all our friends out there that have been watching. We really appreciate your comments and your likes and for subscribing. Really appreciate it. It's been really fun for us and we're so glad to meet some really cool people on here. And again, if you have a channel and maybe we're not aware of it, drop it down below. Let us know. Also, any kind of constructive feedback is always good. I was thinking of maybe including some needle drops at some point. I know when I tried to do this concept as an actual written blog, I actually went through and listened to all these records myself before I gave a little bit of a review on them. But I think I'm kind of leaning to not doing needle drops because it might make the video even longer. And you know how much we can tend to ramble sometimes. But yeah, if you have any ideas of things that you might like to see, let us know. We're definitely going to do more record hunting videos at some point. We have our new purchases videos that we need to do for September and October, now that it's kind of towards the end of October now. And so yeah, there's some variety in there. But if you think you might be interested in us doing needle drops of some of the records that we show, just let me know if you think that would be a fun idea. I think we're pretty far away from ever monetizing, so I'm not really that worried about it. I just don't want any of our videos getting blocked. So we're back going through the collection and we're still in the D's. Got this little section out here of the general rock record population. So let's get going. So our first record is Roger Daltrey's One of the Boys. Kind of an interesting cover. Reflection on the back. Seems to have smashed the mirror. There's the track listing. I'm not familiar with Roger's career very much. Of course, I love The Who. And of course, John would have some Who solo. But yeah, I'm not really that familiar with Roger's solo career at all. This was released in 1977 on MCA Records. That's just a bit of dust there. And One of the Boys... don't know anything about that. But again, we've got the lyrics on the sleeve. Roger wants us to sing along. It's got a little embossed thing here. It says Platinum Plus. So don't know what that means, but this is on MCA from 1977. Roger Daltrey, One of the Boys.
First up, we have, this is Roger Daltrey's One of the Boys, his third solo album from 1977. Got this one for free. This came in a collection somebody dropped off at Izzy's once, and we went through it, said, yeah, we'll give you this much money, and the guy never came back. So Izzy said, help yourself to whatever you want, and I took this, and 2 or 3 other records you'll see when we get much later into the alphabet. This is an American press, of course. Lyric inner sleeve. The Black MCA label. This is probably Roger's best solo album. A lot of guest stars on here. The one track is most popular on here is Say It Ain't So, Joe, the Murray Head tune, which Murray also did. But this also has a lot of guest stars on here. Of course, Entwistle's on it. Jimmy McCulloch of Wings. Rod Argent. Several other folks. Hank Marvin of the Shadows. Alvin Lee. Eric Clapton. Mick Ronson. Andy Fairweather Lowe. McCartney submitted a song called Giddy. I don't know much of the backstory of that. One of the boys, the songwriting credit is Gibbons, so that might be Steve Gibbons of the Steve Gibbons Band. And also, Colin Blunstone wrote this track, Single Man's Dilemma, which, just an okay track. I thought about playing it on our radio show, but it's kind of so many to insult Colin's songwriting, but it's kind of a bland country and western thing. And of course, Lou Courtney, who wrote songs for Roger and with Roger, has songwriting credits on here. And Avenging Annie by Andy Pratt, I think, is a more well-known song. I think Andy Pratt is somebody who had solo records also. This is one of my more favorite Daltrey solo records. Came out in '77. Like I said, one of his better albums, worth picking up. I got it for free. The record that came in between the first album, Daltrey, and this one is called Ride a Rock Horse, which I don't own and don't have too much of a desire to own it. It's a bit of just doesn't appeal to me too much. But anyway, Roger Daltrey, One of the Boys, 1977, MCA Records.
Next, we've got another Roger Daltrey solo. This is Under a Raging Moon. This definitely looks 80s to me. 1985, Atlantic Records release. Got the rolled up sleeves. This is a track listing. Really not familiar. I'm not familiar with any of these songs. There's the sleeve with the lyrics and photo. We went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They had a lot of costumes and clothing on display of different rock stars over the years, and they had a outfit from Roger displayed. It was, I'm sure John would be able to tell you the specifics of it, but it's Roger in Roger's striped t-shirt that reminds me so much of a shirt I had when I was like 13. But it's one of his t-shirts with a pair of jeans. And I know going up to it at the Hall of Fame and seeing it in proportion, I'm like, oh my gosh, Roger, he's little. But sometimes smaller people have really big voices. And hands down, Roger Daltrey is probably one of the best rock and roll singers of all time. So, yeah, I'm going to have to give these a listen to, I think.
Here we have another Roger Daltrey solo album, his 1985 album, Under a Raging Moon. This is my original copy I bought upon release when I was in 9th grade. This was his tribute to his late band member Keith Moon. The track Under a Raging Moon features several drummers doing drum solos in the middle of the song. I know that Martin Chambers is one of the drummers. The guy from Big Country, whose last name I am not going to try and pronounce because it's Mark Brzezicki, but also Stuart Copeland, Carl Palmer, Cozy Powell, Russ Ballard, and some names I don't know of. Bruce Watson, Drummers in order of performance: Martin Chambers, Roger Taylor, Cozy Powell, Stuart Copeland, Zach Starkey, Carl Palmer, Mark Brzezicki, and Mark and Zach do the outro. That was written by John Parr and Julia Downs, and also says for Kit Lambert. As you know, Roger Daltrey and Keith Moon had a very contentious relationship throughout the history of the band, very much in their early years. But when Keith died, they say Roger was the one who cried the hardest at the funeral. But they had a very contentious relationship. This is on the inner sleeves, kind of coming apart. It also has the most well-known track on here is Townsend's composition After the Fire. I don't think there's anybody else really well known on here. I don't recognize a lot of names. Oh, Russ Ballard's on here. Pete Townsend is not on here. This is, I think, his first album on Atlantic. I don't remember the order of Roger's solo records. But yeah, this is my copy from high school. Still have it. Under a Raging Moon, Roger Daltrey, 1985, on Atlantic.
Bobby Darin, Inside Out. It's probably quite a bit away from Splish Splash, but looks like his folky stuff, which is always something that I enjoy. He does Backstreet Girl from the Stones, by Mick and Keith. And on the back they have it backwards. I saw it. Yeah, they do. They have it backwards, but I can read it in the screen here. So, anyway, this is on Atlantic Records. And the Atlantic sleeve here. With all the catalog numbers.
Next, this came from a very good friend of mine who was part of the record store circles back home. My friend Paul Larson, he had a huge collection, which he would occasionally sell off, buy back, sell off, thin things out. That is his infamous, to me, handwriting there on the sticker. This is Bobby Darin, Inside Out on Atco from, I believe, about 1967. Picked this up. It was still sealed. Mono. Yeah, it says 1967. Dumb. This is on Atlantic, not Atco. Mono copy. I picked this up because of the cover versions he does. He does The Spoonfuls, Darling Be Home Soon, and Best Friends. Randy Newman's I Think It's Gonna Rain Today. This Rolling Stones Backstreet Girl. Ladyfingers, which is a track by the Magicians, a New York band who are on Columbia. Whatever Happened to Happy, I think, is a Bonner Gordon song, which the Mojo Men later did. This is still got the original sleeve inside, and the red and purple Atlantic label. Of course, it being a Paul Larson record. Oh, it needs a cleaning, though. It's got some dirt on it. That's not very Paul Larson. Paul was known for looking at records and going, it's fucking cherry. Or he'd look at it and run his finger over. He goes, oh, there's a divot. Paul. At Tommy's store, he actually went outside and looked at records in the sun. But all the record collectors have their little picadillos, and that was Paul's. But Paul is a lovely guy, and I still talk to him on Facebook. And that's one story I should have told when we were talking about weird things you have found in records. When he turned in his collection, I found inside a copy of Live at Leeds and in some other records, black and white pictures of the Rolling Stones. And there's Paul as a teenager. Paul and his friends who had a band dressed up in suits. Paul wasn't a musician, so he carried a briefcase to pretend to be the manager. And they snuck into Newark Symphony Hall where the Stones were going to play. Or it was in Newark. Maybe it wasn't that venue. And what I was told, they hid inside like a big organ case. Then when the Stones came in, they popped out. And the pictures I found and gave back to Paul was a picture of Bill Wyman, who was caught off guard walking up steps, and one picture of Charlie Watts playing drums on stage with Paul and all his friends standing around him. Like, Paul looks the funniest because he's young. I know him as older. He's young, but he's like... And there were several others. I think Big Jeff found them in other records and gave them off to Paul. But great, interesting story. I don't know why I didn't bring that up, but seeing this record from Paul's collection reminded me of that. But anyway... Bobby Darin, Inside Out Mono, 1967 on Atlantic, produced by Koppelman and Rubin, who I think did work for Kama Sutra, maybe produced The Spoonful. I didn't research my stuff right now, but a really interesting album. Darin's, I think this is after If I Were a Carpenter. Anyway, that's this record.
I knew we were getting to these sooner or later. We're being in the D section. We've got Dave Davies. His album AFL 1-3603, which I believe is like the catalog number for the album, for the record. It's on RCA, and I believe this is probably early 80s, I would think. Yeah, 1980 on RCA Records. Cool inner sleeve with the lyrics. For the benefit of those of you who have tuned in late, Dave Davies is the guitarist, the other half of the Kinks, my favorite band of all time. I know a little bit of Dave's solo stuff. Not as familiar with the 80s releases. Trying to see if there's any songs that I immediately recognize on this album. Imagination's Real. Yeah, not a lot of these stand out to me. I'm going to have to listen to this one. I haven't listened to a lot of Dave solo in a really long time. And like I said, if I have listened to Dave solo, it hasn't been 80s stuff. But love this iconic look here for Dave. Again, how clever to name your album the catalog number, barcode number here.
Next up, let's try this side. This is Dave Davies's debut solo album from 1980 on RCA. Got this for $1 at a Tommy's store. I don't think I've sadly listened to it since I bought it. It's just something you hear me say a lot in these videos. I'm sorry. I remember the first time I saw this was when it was fairly new or a few years old. It was in Bradley's in the budget rack, and I was like, Mom, please, Mom, it's only $2.99. No. So I get it all these years later at Tommy's store for $1. And the title of the album is the RCA catalog number, AFL1 3603. Here's Dave on the back. And it's still got its original inner sleeve. And I don't know if I saw it originally, but I know he appeared on Bandstand to promote this record. The most well-known song on here is Imagination's Real. That was the single. This is on a black RCA label, which I've never seen. Guess it's a bit of a custom because it's got a big barcode there. Still in nice shape. We may have to spin this soon one day because the Kinks are our favorite band that we bonded over. But yeah, Dave Davies, his debut solo album after threatening to do a solo album for years, and finally did it in 1980 on RCA. Dave Davies, AFL1 3603.
Another Dave Davies solo album here, Chosen People. Don't know why John still has the shrink on this. There's no hype sticker or anything. But this is Dave's 1983 album, Chosen People. There he is up there, doing his best Boy George, I guess. I don't know, was Boy George a thing in 83? I can't remember. I was just a wee lass. But yeah, I'm a little more familiar with this record. It's on Warner. And I know Mean Disposition, Love Gets You, Chosen People. I know they were trying to have, or Love Gets You was basically the single from this album, and there is a clip, or there has been a clip, I haven't checked it out in a while, of Dave on, I think it's American Bandstand, because Dick Clark announces him. He does Love Gets You live in studio. It's pretty cute if you get a chance to watch it. If you're a Kinks fan like me, I always found Dave a little bit cute. So, yeah, I like Love Gets You. It's a good pop song. Surprisingly enough for the guy that pretty much, in my opinion, spearheaded the beginnings of the fuzz guitar, heavy guitar sound in pop music. So, yeah, Dave Davies. Chosen People from 1983.
Next in our series, this is Dave Davies's next solo record from 1983 on Warner Brothers, Chosen People. I got this the same day, I think, as I got the previous record out of Tommy's store for $1. It was open when I got it. It still had its shrink on it. I just never took the shrink off. Again, I don't know much about this record. I know I saw him do. He did Mean Disposition live one of the 2 times I saw him. This is on Warner's. I assume it's the white Warner's label.
Yep.
Nothing special to report there. No inserts or nothing. Yes, I saw Dave Davies twice at Maxwell's. He shook my hand because he meant I was One time I went by myself. Well, I went by myself both times, but the second time I met up with this guy, Brian, who I used to buy records from at record shows. He was a big Kinks fan. It's where he got me a videotape of the Star Maker television broadcast. And I was not sitting in my usual spot at Maxwell's. I usually sat on the bleachers, little steps on the left, but I was up against the brick wall on the right. I was watching the show, and all of a sudden somebody smacked me in the shoulder, and I was about to turn around and go, "Hey, Brian!" And we sat and hung out together. And of course, Dave is into his spacey alien belief thing, and when he started in the middle of the show playing that electric dance music that one of his sons does and starts talking about this stuff, it was like me and Brian and a bunch of others like, "Hey, you want to go to the bar, get a beer real quick?" And we went out to the bar. But when Dave got off stage for the first time before I come back out on the encore and he walked past us, we were like, "Hey," and I patted him on the back. It's like, "Good show." And he turned around and shook my hand. He's like, "All right, mate." Like, I was like, "Whoa." And he's really tall, big guy. But anyway, yeah, I don't remember too much about this record. I do think he did Mean Disposition when I saw him. But this is Dave Davis, Chosen People, 1983, Warner Brothers Records.